So, the whole gimmick of Endoparasitic is that you only have one hand to do everything, even move around. I mean, in terms of movement, the game doesn't really take advantage of the gimmick really at all, except for a few stealth sections, I guess. But you only get those later on, like in the last third of the game or so. So, just to prove how impossible it should be to move with just righty, I'll have to complete a gauntlet, in which I'll only give myself 1 minute.
When the war is over, an hour and a half from now.
To rush to the door, open it, grab my Nerf Zombie Strike revolver with the ammo, use it to kill the Among Us twins with 1 shot each, and dump exactly 4 bullets into Fat Pinguino. You'll see why later. Then, once the enemies have been neutralized, I'll have to heal with this syringe of G Fuel. It really is G Fuel.
Mother will beat me.
Crawl up to the tall tower and save the princess, my favorite Illuminations character, the Minions. Thank you, Illumination, for sponsoring this video. And just to be clear, I'll have to do all of that while only using one hand, this hand. Now, this is all going to be done in one take, so don't expect any good cinematography or anything like that, but at least you know I won't be faking. I only get one chance. There are no do-overs, and no chance for failure, because if I fail, something bad will happen. Something unfortunate. Timer set! Oh my god. Oh my god, this is way harder than I thought. How am I gonna reach it? I don't think I could reach this. Do you want to know what the best part of survival horror is? Micromanaging.
Don't yell me, Karen. You don't know me, Karen. Lose the attitude there, Karen. You're holding up the line there, Karen.
Having to flee from zombies or xenomorphs or any other things out to get you, while also having to worry about reloading your weapons and keeping your health topped off, is the crux of the genre. Imagine if there was a survival horror game with regenerative health, for instance. That would ruin it so bad. Now, imagine a survival horror game where you not only had to manage your health and ammo, but only had one hand to do everything. Endoparasitic is a game that does just that. In the first seconds of gameplay, you're forced to watch as parasite-infested mutants rip off both your legs and your left arm. Good thing it wasn't righty. Then, to save the rest of your body, you have to cauterize your wounds with a handy, see what I did there? Clothes iron that just happened to be close by. After this, the real game begins. It's pretty obvious what sets this game apart. You only have one hand to do, well, everything. As you awkwardly crawl throughout the facility, or at least you would if this guy didn't have the upper body strength of Lou Ferrigno. Rather, as you gleefully glide through the facility, you notice these creatures roaming about. By reading the mini terminals lying around, you discover that these creatures are the result of an outbreak in the facility, of the 3 trillion-year-old parasite being experimented on. By opening your inventory, you also realize that you too are infected, and get a little meter of the parasite making its way to your brain. This acts as the most unique health meter I've ever seen in a game ever. Then, you experience what could only be the coolest moment in the game, when you are given a revolver and you realize how limiting it is only having one hand.
Huh?
You see, when you use a revolver, you have to use your one hand to take that bullet casing out and replace it for every single shot you take. This, of course, leads to tense situations where you have to take pot shots at monsters and crawl away to reload before finishing them off. Now, I get it. This seems like the perfect recipe for a good survival horror title. Doing minimal damage to monsters while trying to outmaneuver them with stressful controls. Mwah. Perfect. Except that the game design was done by someone who actually does have a parasite burrowing into their brain, because it makes the game more frustrating than anything else. Okay, so, the revolver only has 6 bullets, which is pretty standard, but every enemy takes 4 shots to kill, every single time. this makes you have to reload every single time you try to kill an enemy. Instead of this making things more stressful for the player, it just gets annoying because even though we have one hand, we are sprinting through the facility. So instead of having to get creative with ways to kite around the enemies, you end up killing one, running away, having plenty of time to reload, zooming back, killing another, rinse and repeat. Why is it that we feel the burden of having only one hand when using our guns, but not when moving through the facility? There's just no consistency here. Oh, but you're really gonna feel the frustration in this one level, where you are dropped in and are blocked off by an army of enemies coming at you, forcing you to run in the other direction. So I'm thinking, finally, you know, this is where movement takes place. You don't have to kill them all, you can just run. But no! It turns out the game doesn't want you to run. It wants you to actually kill every single enemy. But remember, you still have to reload after every kill, so it just amplifies the annoyance. Let me paint you a picture of how this level plays out. You kill the first enemy, run, grab ammo, only to reload a couple of bullets because they're close on your tail. Run away, finish reloading, kill another. Repeat this 3 to 4 times and then get cornered and die because there are 5 enemies. 5 enemies in this tight corridor. That's 20 bullets you have to individually reload into this damn revolver. But don't forget that this is only a 6-shooter, so you would have to reload a minimum of 3 times while running from the monsters. But you'll never get that luxury because you'll have to run away while reloading, and you'll never get the chance to replace all 6 of your bullets at any one time. You'll have to do 3 here, 2 there, maybe even 4 if you're lucky. And I can hear you now, why don't you just run further away and fully reload? Well, you're only allowed to carry 6 bullets in your inventory at this point, and the ammo left on the floor is for some reason pretty spaced out, so even if you do run away, you'll end up being out of ammo before you can kill even just 3 of them. Don't forget that you're doing all of this while also having to heal, and while having to precisely position your mouse to replace each round without any room for error. Oh, and God help you if you miss a single bullet. I even looked up a walkthrough because obviously I was doing something wrong, and nope, you just kinda have to get the perfect run. That's really it. And as if to spite you, the game gives you an inventory upgrade like 5 minutes after this hallway level, and this shotgun. Oh, but that's just one level, right? No, the entire game is riddled with these confusing game design decisions. But, oh, let me tell ya, the hallway pales in comparison to this other part of the game. This goddamn enigma of design, the part that makes my blood boil, and makes me wish I had something actually burrowing into my brain. The absolute antithesis to what this game tries to be. These rats. Unlike the slow, burly enemies you've faced before, these goddamn rats can rival Sonic with how jittery they are. So, you get to this one level where you see these new rat enemies that are behind these glass doors, and it's up to you to let them out to get to some goodies that are also behind the doors. But, unlike the humanoids, these things are as fast as you are when you're sprinting. They get a little exclamation mark, make a little squeak, and absolutely rush at you. Unless you manage to take your gun out and aim, there is no avoiding the hit, by the way. What's worse is that they're completely adept in guerrilla warfare, so they run up, nibble on you, run away, and repeat. I can't even remember any time I had to face an enemy this annoying. It gets worse still when most of these little gremlins are in tight corridors or vents, so what ends up happening is that you alert them, and they bomb rush you so fast you don't have a chance to react. Mostly because of the inventory system. I mentioned before that at some point after the hallway diarrhea, you get a shotgun. Now, this is pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. I thought all my prayers had been answered and I wouldn't have to worry anymore about having to reload after every kill, or having to juggle 6 shots between 5 enemies. It's crazy because after this, the issue with ammo is completely fixed. I guess it was just annoying having to reload the revolver so often. Later on, I did end up having more fun than I initially was. On its own, without the annoying mechanics of the enemies, the inventory screen is fine. But the inventory on your character is so burdensome. It wasn't a problem when you only had a revolver on you, or even when you got the shotgun. But later on in the game, you'll have 3, even 4 weapons on that cute little torso of yours at a time. And why exactly is it that all these weapons have to have their grips so close together? Here's an easy fix. Maybe have 1 weapon per corner? Imagine if instead of this, you got this. That would have been so much better. your hands. I know my legs are out, but I'm not using them. It doesn't count. It does not count. God damn it. It doesn't count. There is no grip. There is nothing to grip. The squirm method. The squirm. Wait, no squirm, because that's technically using my legs. Shut up. The entire game has a glaring issue that consistently ruins your mood. It's that most of the levels are designed with the reliance on subsequent playthroughs. What I mean by this is that you won't know exactly what you're getting into on your first playthrough or level, and it won't be until you die that you'll have the insider knowledge you need to beat the level for real. Take the hallway I ranted about previously. I initially thought you had to run from the horde of enemies and maybe make it to a door or something that could block them off. How was I supposed to know on my first playthrough that you had to kill them all, let alone that you had to start shooting as soon as you spawned or else that you would have run out of space or ammo? And as for another example, don't even get me started on this goddamn level that's mostly vents which are crawling, teeming even with rats. You get so sick of killing them and still hearing that scuttering in the background. Just look at this clip. At this point I've already died to the rats and I know there's one here, but he just won't come out. So I try to get closer to see how it is and yup, guaranteed hit. Then I keep knocking out the rats because I know where they're gonna come out from, right? Then I blast 2 big boys, some more rats, and I finally get as far as I ever have been in this level. And then what happens? I get mercilessly ambushed by 3 rats at once. This is the worst example of the game design issue I could find. I mean, even if you know, like I do here, where the enemies are gonna be, they're still pretty much guaranteed to hit you. This isn't clever, it's just annoying. Instead of having the player figure things out in the moment, you have to go out and die so that you later have the clairvoyance you need to do a perfect run through the level. This game is very unique. It takes a lot these days for a AAA game to catch my eye, with all the Assassin's Creed and Call of Duties out there, and that goes doubly for indie games. Just because there are so many out there that it's impossible for me to keep up, let alone for my wallet to keep up. I wanted to make it known, at least at some point in this video, that the reason I'm so passionately critical about this game is because it did manage to be among the ones that stood out enough to catch my intrigue. I really wanted to like this game. Going into it, I was admittedly kind of anxious because I didn't know what to expect. And hearing the monsters shuffling around in those first few levels, while I was still adjusting to moving with one arm, let alone without yet finding a weapon, was absolutely amazing. It felt like I was a kid playing RE1 again with the classic tank controls. But after I realized how reliably easy it would be to dispatch the enemies if I just took my time, it just wasn't horror anymore. And then after I realized how plentiful ammo would be, it lost the survival. A survival horror game this was not. Four. There's only 5 shots in this? Okay. I guess I'll have to do a mid-combat reload. Tactical reload. Tactical reload. One, 2, 3, 4. What's next? That being said, the game does get better. Except for a few hiccups like the intentionally frustrating rat level, I did find myself enjoying the game more and more, although never to the point where I was playing it for fun anymore. At that point, I was just trying to finish it. The Sleeping Beauties. This is when I started having fun with the game. The Sleeping Beauties are introduced as these false corpses that come to life if you make too much noise. Although they don't move at all, they are liable to reach over and fondle you in a mean way, doing massive damage if you move too quickly or make any noise at all. This finally makes the game a little challenging when you're put in a room with these things and regular enemies. So now you have to balance being silent while taking out the strap for the little guys. This is a cool design, but unfortunately even this isn't without its faults. Like every other enemy in the game, they can be killed, which means you have a pretty easy way to rid yourself of this otherwise fun mechanic if you so desire. The game even kind of encourages this later on when it gives you a crossbow that ends up being a one-shot weapon for pretty much everything, including these things. So the game finally fixes the problem with the main enemies being molasses slow while you yourself are blue hedgehog fast, and it gives you an easy out. God damn it. The orangutans. These are technically called the lab monkeys, but they're so obviously orangutans, and let me be that guy for a second. Orangutans are great apes, not monkey. Anyway, soon after being introduced to the Sleeping Beauties, you come to this room with these giant monkeys in cages. It's especially creepy because you can tell they're alive and hungry, but you're spared fighting them, so you just have to wonder what one of these things can do. Ooh, finally something good. They're also blind, so this takes the stealth mechanics and danger of the Sleeping Beauties with something that actually moves. Then, in the very next level, the game takes the guardrails away and you're made to see how fast and how immediately these things can rip you apart. And right after that, you have to make it through a set of doors that sound off alarms, alerting the monkey, great ape, to you. This is anxiety-inducing, but it's just too little too late. This is like 80% through the game at this point. I already had so many moments where I was bored enough to quit. The pacing here just does not work. Then you're put into a room with it and are forced to sneak around the perimeter while taking shots at it here and there. There's nothing inherently wrong with this, as the game already built up enough dread for the apes to make this fight at least a little scary. My issue is that they go down after 1, 2, 3 crossbow bolts. Then you realize, oh, I could have done that all along. Somehow retroactively ruining your past experience with the apes. So here I just wanted to rapid fire these improvements I would have liked to see in the game. The ammo problem. The most simple thing the devs could have done to fix the ammo issue would be to make the revolver an 8-shooter instead of just 6. Or better yet, make the enemies only need 3 shots each and give less ammo. This way, you don't have to reload after every kill, and by giving the player less ammo, you make them feel that every shot counts more. If you're gonna need 4 shots to bring down an enemy, then the other 2 are useless until you reload. Which brings me to my next point. Too many enemies. This game has like triple digits, I don't even want to count them. The issue with ammo wouldn't even have been a problem if it wasn't for the amount of enemies you had to deal with. Think about it, reduce the amount of enemies so that you have to choose which to kill and which to run around to conserve ammo. Then make the movement slower, considering you have 1 arm, so that the ones you do leave alive are still a threat. Doesn't that sound like fun? The Hunter. This is the last enemy type in the game, and that's for good reason. Now, the way you're introduced to the Hunter is kinda cool. You find yourself in the room with these weird egg sack things, and through some careful analysis, you find out that they can be popped open for goodies. Then you get used to popping these little boba balls, and boom, when you're least expecting it, this thing pops out.
Come over here and kiss me on my hot mouth.
It does massive damage, lunges at you from across the room, and can teleport. But it teleports on top of you within the same interval of time, every time. So instead of having to be on your toes for every second and make it a point to give yourself an escape, just in case it pops up, it ends up being diminished to just wait for it. Okay, move 2 feet. Yeah, okay, now you're free to move. It's the same as a thwomp. This thing is it's a thwomp, where you bait it out and then you're good for a period of time. I'm not gonna lie, this is just boring. Here's a simple fix, okay? Make the teleport time random, or better yet, don't have him teleport at all, and instead use a stealth mechanic, aka the best mechanic in the game, in a way where you have to hide from the Hunter for as long as possible and then make him absolutely relentless if and once he finds you. Like, what if there were tarps you had to cover yourself with to avoid his gaze, and then once you mess up and he finds you, you have to move away as quickly as possible, dropping the tarp in the process, forcing you to either fight him and disable him temporarily, or try to make a mad dash to the exit. You do eventually fight him though, as he is the final boss fight. Oh god, the final boss fight. Yeah, so it's basically just the Hunter. It doesn't behave too differently, except now there are 4 sacks, I guess? Only one of which is vulnerable at a time. The issue is that after you deal enough damage to the vulnerable sack, these lines show up across the map and leave the same boba balls as before, effectively creating a barrier that just gets worse as the fight goes on. It's also important to note that the ground here is slippery with blood, which surprisingly helps movement. In terms of a boss battle, this is okay. I mean, in theory, you would clear out the boba balls as well as the enemies that spawn from them before attacking the following sack, right? Now, you know there's an issue. It's that no matter how safe and how slowly you want to take it, this goddamn slime of a man slices through them, activating a ton of the balls at once. So now you kinda have to deal with more than you would have liked at one time, but remember that you can't move while aiming or anything, so you have to uncomfortably time when to aim and shoot, as well as when to awkwardly sit there as you wait for the hunter to spawn. Again, exactly every 5 seconds. While also taking time whenever you can to reload and heal. Now even this doesn't sound impossible, I know. But you wanna know what the real kicker is? The damn rats. Every time the rats. If you don't take them out as soon as they spawn, they will rush you, and rush you, and rush you, and sometimes you can't do anything about it if they catch you in that period of time where you're waiting for the hunter to spawn. Like, look at this clip, where I am so close to finally beating this garbage after like my 5th try, and the rat spawns, and I can't even do anything about it because immediately after its rat drive-by, it runs behind its big brother and like 7 balls. And then it's that awkward moment where I have to wait for the hunter to spawn in, and instead of being able to shoot, I have to prioritize healing. So now my next priority is dodging the hunter once again, and I admittedly fumble with the cluttered inventory system. I know I went into detail before about how I didn't like the weapon placements, but I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous here. I really didn't want to play this anymore, man. So then, I shoot where the rat ran off to because although the map is pretty big, you can only see for a radius of like 3 feet even in this open final battle. Then I hear a little hit marker, and assuming the rat is dead, I attempt to dodge the next hunter attack, but no. It turns out that the hit marker was the shot hitting a boba ball. So now there are 2 rats. Even though I just healed, now these 2 rats bum rush me with the hunter right behind them, right on schedule to finish me off. This whole battle is just frustrating moment after frustrating moment. It's not based on skill, but instead RNG with whether or not a rat spawns or hopefully just a slow guy. Or even better, ammo. Or even better, flare ammo, because the flare gun just mows through a huge chunk of the map. But that is a rare drop, dude. It's like Rod of Discord rare, because I never get more than 1 in any of my attempts. Also yes, the hunter can kill the enemies even as they spawn in, if his attacks go through them. But guess what? It barely ever happens to the rats, because they're just so damn small. Like here, where his attacks spawn a rat, but he doesn't kill it, and I was already low, so yep, another loss. I swear, most of my deaths here came from rats. And then at the end of it all, I swear over 30 minutes and a double-digit amount of attempts, even the victory is bittersweet. At the end of it all, you get this. Yeah, none of this is funny. It's this moment that made me mad enough to make this review. That and the ending. Apparently this person who used to be your assistant is the chosen one of the parasite or whatever, and she gets on a ship to infect Earth or to sequel bait or something, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not gonna be subjecting myself to more of this. I don't think I'll be getting Endoparasitic 2 Secret of the Ooze or whatever. Then, in my research, I found this video the creator put out on how he made this game in 2 days for the Ludum Dare Game Jam. This is a cool game to make in 2 days, and that in itself is very commendable, but I don't believe that the $10 version I bought on Steam is the same version which was submitted to the Game Jam. With the voice acting and different mechanics added in, I'm pretty sure the creator took the Game Jam version and improved upon it to make this one. Though that may very well be the case, it's baffling to me how Endoparasitic could still manage to feel a bit unfinished. Before the game introduced the stealth mechanic, it just felt like an Atari game where you face the same enemies and do the same thing over and over again, just on a different board with slightly altered rooms. I think that was my main gripe with this one. That first 70 or so % of the game where you just shoot, run, reload, and occasionally use a different weapon, that's what really killed my excitement. How unfortunate. Alright, I did say I have to climb the tower, so I'm just gonna, I guess, put my head up here, because there's no way I'm actually gonna climb this. I'm getting closer.